So why does ESPN football analyst and talk show host Paul Finebaum seem to really hate USC coach Lincoln Riley so much? I mean, it's next level stuff. We've talked about it here before on this podcast. Look, in our first segment here today, we ran through the list of challenges and shortcomings by Riley at USC. He's not perfect. We've even suggested that he follow the Ryan Day model of giving up play calling and pay attention to the rest of his program. I get it. And some people may disagree with that. Fine. But why the nonstop anti-Riley drumbeat from SEC lover and Big Ten hater Finebaum? Last week, he called him an average coach, which actually is an upgrade from what I've heard him call Riley. He's called Riley a fraud before. That's a little strong, calling a guy a fraud, don't you think? He then went on to suggest back in the day throughout the whole season that Riley was going to be fired at the end of the year, which, by the way, last time I checked, has not happened. So Finebaum's wrong. But, that's probably had something to do with Riley's huge buyout. Still, he still owed like $90 million of that massive contract of his. But now just calling him average, even if that is a compliment from Finebaum, if you will, it seems a bit harsh. I mean, it was 55-10 at Oklahoma. Got 2 Heisman quarterbacks at Oklahoma, almost a third. Caleb Williams got one at USC, so there's another one. 3 Heisman Trophy winners, as we pointed out in our earlier segment today. But notably, and fairly, I think, we need to look at the momentum of USC's football program right now, where Finebaum points out that his annual win total has gone from 11 to 8 to now 7 wins at USC. That's a fair point. That's a fair criticism. But to call him a fraud, call him average, that's not fair. Now, they are trending in the wrong direction. Hence the pressure from this somewhat new athletic director, Jennifer Cohen, which we discussed earlier. And while Riley hasn't won a conference title of any kind since 2020, and he's not made the playoffs since 2019, calling him an average, flat out calling him a fraud, again, it's too much. I'm just mentioning a couple of examples. I mean, Finebaum goes on and on and on. You USC Trojan fans know it. You hear it all the time. But remember, last month, that SEC homer Finebaum, he had to swallow his pride a little bit on Mike Greenberg's show on ESPN and say that the Big Ten runs college football, not the SEC. That was hard for him to do. But it's true. The Big Ten is where it's at. The SEC, they're a basketball program. They're a basketball conference now. It's ridiculous. I mean, the truth hurts for them, not us. By the way, quick peek at the Trojans football schedule in 2025. Starts out favorable, but it gets a little tough. Like if you're the athletic director and you're looking for a big win total, not 7 wins, maybe 9, 10, 11, between you and me, I don't know if it's there. Look, they open with some non-conference games versus Missouri State and Georgia Southern. Okay, they can get a couple dubs there. Then they open up Big Ten play at Purdue. Should win that one. Purdue's a mess. They host Michigan State. Should win that one. Then they play at Illinois. Illinois, 10-win team last year. Luke Altmaier coming back. That could be a tough game. So we're going to have 4 or 5 wins right there. And by the way, let's not underestimate the fact that at this point, at Purdue, back home for Michigan State, then back to Illinois, that's a lot of zigging and zagging across the country. A lot of back and forth traveling. So sitting at 4, 5 wins, maybe 4, let's call it. Then after all the zigzagging across the country, then they host Michigan. I think Michigan will be better than they were last year. That's on October 11th. And the next week, and maybe a look-ahead game too, because the week after that, taking on Notre Dame. The rivalry Notre Dame game in the middle of the season. That could be tough. Then they got to hit the road at Nebraska. There's a little bit of a stretch here that could be tough. The middle part of the schedule for USC is very difficult. And then they have home dates against Northwestern and Iowa before traveling. Okay, let's give them 5, 6 wins at this point. Then they travel to Oregon. That's going to be tough. Close out against UCLA Thanksgiving weekend for the season finale. 8 wins, maybe? Are we in agreement here? Even if we buffer plus or minus 1, I'm not sure I see a 10-win season. I'm not sure I see championship level football here that the athletic director was saying she wants to see. It's a tough schedule. It's a very respectable schedule. I don't know that they get to double digits in wins of that at all. I don't think they get close. I'm not saying they can't have a good season. I'm not saying they can't have a winning season, go to a bowl game, but I'm not seeing a jump With that schedule, I don't know. I put it at 8, maybe plus or minus 1 at a best case scenario, right? Anyway, let me know what you think, Trojan fan. Again, you're very opinionated on this stuff. We'd love to hear from you. Fight on. Let's hear from it with the comments. Got some bad news for Illinois basketball. Their freshman forward, Morez Johnson, going to be out indefinitely. Actually broke his wrist. I don't know if you saw it this weekend. He was making a nice block over the weekend in the Michigan State game. Coach Brad Underwood came out earlier this week and said that when he fell on the floor, he broke his wrist. Again, trying to make a block against Michigan State. That was the game where Tom Izzo became the winningest coach, the winningest Big Ten coach in Big Ten history with Big Ten wins. But he's going to be out indefinitely. He's casted up. And Illinois' next game is tonight, Tuesday night, visiting a 20-win team in Wisconsin. But Johnson's a tough kid. You know, after he fell, injured himself, cracked his wrist, he jumped right up, said, all right, tape it up. Let's go. I'm back in here. But he's going to be out indefinitely. He's a 6'9" freshman, a lot of promise, averages 18 minutes a game, good rebounder, 6.5 rebounds per game, scores 7 points a game. He'll get a little more than a block per game as well. He has started 8 games this year. He's played in 26. Again, going to be out indefinitely, however long that takes to heal. Nobody really knows at this point. Meanwhile, more hoops, men's basketball. After a hiatus yesterday, tonight, Tuesday night, number 13 Purdue at number 14 Michigan State. That's a 7 o'clock game on Peacock, 7 o'clock Eastern. That's a good game. We're trying to separate. We're all jumbled up here at the top of the Big Ten, Purdue and Michigan State. This is a hugely important game for Big Ten tournament seedings moving forward. And again, that'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight on Peacock. Also, Illinois, who we just mentioned, going to be at number 11, Wisconsin. That's at 8:30 Eastern time on FS1. Minnesota with a big win at USC. Now they get to take on UCLA. That's 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on FS1. We'll see if they can keep that rolling against Mick Cronin's team at UCLA. And then the women are off tonight, but tomorrow, the big one on the women's schedule of a handful of games, number 22 Michigan State at number 4 USC. So a lot of great hoops coming up here in the middle of the week. Any comments on that? Hit us up. Always looking forward to that. Coming up next is one of our favorite segments of the entire week where we do Tuesday tweets. So you don't want to miss that. It's all coming up next right here as we continue on Locked On Big Ten.